pursuing something technical, which is engineering, specifically aerospace engineering. I was in operations, which is piloting. I was in the quality management as well, being an aviation auditor, and one of the youngest aviation auditors in the industry right now.
Hey guys, welcome to the Aviation Surf podcast. And on this episode, we've got Param, who is a student entrepreneur, a pilot, and engineer as well. So, Param, please introduce yourself and why you got involved in aviation and what influenced you to become a pilot in the first place.
First of all, thank you, Junaid, for including me, in your podcast and giving me the reach through your viewer base. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, as Junaid mentioned, I'm Param. I am currently a trainee pilot and student aerospace engineer pursuing his education in Lithuania. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a very short introduction about me. As we speak on, I'll elaborate.
All right, like you said, Param, that your program at Vilnius Tech is a master's and pilot training program together, integrated program. What is the structure?
Yeah, so it's a very unique and a very, very challenging program, which is worth about 5 years worth of studies. And you do parallel aircraft piloting along with engineering. So you have to learn about operations and learn about the aerospace technical side. Uh, in the parallel, it's like an integrated program. You cover the whole program, and by the end of it, you get a master's in aerospace engineering, and you get a frozen ATPL, but a CPL license in hand.
I see, like the flight schools we have in the rest of the countries. So we've got particular ratings itself. So what involved you to choose this program? Like it's a long integrated 5 years program. So what influenced you to choosing this program?
I think the lack of opportunities that the flight schools provide, it's one of the major reasons that I managed to pursue a degree here. First of all, I mean, I'm part of the aviation department of a national university here in Lithuania. So, we have multiple departments. We have people from different fields. We have business management students, electrical engineering students. We have, I mean, the whole plethora of, of the educational fields one can pursue. And we are part of the aviation department here. So, the credibility and the standing of the university helps a lot in this case. You learn a lot more than just being a pilot. That's one of the reasons for me to choose this particular university. Second of all, I mean, I was accepted in a lot of other universities, but the good thing about this one is that the program was affordable, and the kind of amenities and the kind of quality of education that the university was providing was very, very lucrative for me. And secondly, it's part of the European Union. You've got a lot of opportunities when you come to the European Union. I've managed to attend a lot of aviation conferences, training programs. A lot of I've been a keynote speaker in a lot of programs within the EU. That's a few of the reasons that I would list out as my preference to come here.
Exactly. Considering how Vilnius Tech actually ranks amongst one of the topmost aerospace universities out there, it's good for you. I think, considering you're getting a integrated master's and you're completing your pilot training as well. So that opens a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. So that you can get into the engineering side, you can get into the flight operations side as well. Get your ass on the side and apply for the airlines in the long run. Param, now you're a well-established personality. You have done so many other things. So what are the difficulties during your 5 years program at Vilnius Tech? Considering you've got a lot of pros with the program, but what are the cons in this program?
I think if I list out the pros again regarding my program 5-year course, and you get a very lucrative and a very good affordable degree that you can culminate at the end of the program. But I mean, there are also other advantages. For example, we have our own aerodrome, and we have got a good fleet of aircraft for training. Even the individuals that we have within the faculty are chosen from the best of the best within the country. So it's being in the cohort of the most capable students within a country, and that makes it even more special, is what I would say. Along those lines, we have got aviation professionals who are, currently leading the aviation industry in Europe, teaching us. So that's, I think, the aim and the ultimate goal of any student is to learn from the best. That's what we get here. That's one of the things. When I say the cons, I would say that the cons are not particularly from the educational side, but it's the program is very, very demanding. It's a very vigorous program. When I just plainly say that it's aircraft piloting and engineering, it's not just a statement, it's actually a feeling, because it's an emotion. Because at the end of the day, you have to work at least 18 hours a day just to cover up the program. You have to study the technical side of engineering, which itself is very challenging, and you also have to learn about operations. So whatever you're learning in the morning, you're actually applying in the evening, which is not available anywhere else. I mean, it's a kind of program, not everybody can pursue. So that's the con. And because you have to work so hard, it takes a toll on your social life, on your personal life. Because at the end of the day, even if I'm a professional, even if I'm a very hardworking student, I still want to have a social life. So that's one of the cons.
Exactly, like you said, any of the programs out there actually require you to work hard, and time management is one of the most essential things. So, how are you managing all of this? You have so many other things going on. You're involved in startups. You're a student entrepreneur as well. Are doing all of the studies together. So, how are you managing all of this, and how is it working out for you?
I think this is something that every student must learn when he enters university or even in school, is time management. And not just time management, effective time management. Once I learned that art of time management during my first year, when a lot of pressure was put on me regarding my studies. And coming back to the cons, as I forgot to mention, one of the cons of the program was also the entrance test and the entrance exam that I had to go through for getting into this program. So for the international students who want to pursue this program, it's not simple as, you just come here, fill up the forms, give your mark sheets, and you're in the program. No, like I said, it's they only choose the best for this program, the people who can actually face the pressure and at the end perform well. So uh, during the first year, I had to go through the mechanical stream. I was in the mechanical engineering faculty. I was between mechanical engineers who wanted to pursue their degree in mechanical engineering. Basically, it was difficult because you were learning a field which you thought was not interesting for you, and there's a lot of work involved when you're studying mechanical engineering in the first year. Something that demanded a lot of time, a lot of effort. And afterwards, in the second semester of the first year, they take something called as the pilot aptitude and battery test, something which is very common across all flight schools, all good flight schools and aviation institutions, to check whether or if you have the capability to become a pilot. Along with that, they also demand a certain amount of GPA and a certain amount of marks in the mechanical engineering, which is quite a lot actually. They demand at least a 9.0 GPA, which is basically 90%. Not easy for any engineering student. At the end of the day, when I went for the entrance exam, they took the PABT, which is pilot aptitude and battery test. They took the psychometric test. They had an interview process. And last and not the least, which was the most challenging, was the physical fitness test, something you will not see anywhere, where we had to run 3 kilometers, do pull-ups, sprint, and achieve a certain amount of marks within that range, which was very challenging because I mean, as an Indian student, I never faced these challenges in India whether I was when I was applying to colleges or whether I was in school. I had never faced this challenge. So I think this was something which was really difficult for me during that time. And like I said, it all requires a lot of discipline, a lot of time management. I had to sacrifice a lot of things to pass through the requirements and the procedures and the tests to actually get into the program. So the program itself is very difficult, but getting into the program is a separate challenge altogether.
I see now, like you have stated, how vigorous the whole program is and the selection process itself. Now, considering your background, what were the requirements for you to get inside the course itself?
Well, it seemed simple when I was glancing through the program. You required to have, I mean, you had to have some scientific background in terms of your school education, and basically have some English proficiency certification. And because you go through the first phase of mechanical engineering, the requirements were not as much as I thought it would be. The cutoffs were relatively okay, manageable to get into the program. The major requirements for the aviation program was the entrance exam itself, because that is where they scrutinize your documents, they scrutinize your abilities, and along with that, you also had to have a class one EASA medical certificate from the local civil aviation authority and aeromedical center. So, I mean, that was the official document. And other than that, you had the requirements, like I said, the PABT test, the psychometric test, the IQ test, the interview process, and the physical fitness test. Initially, there were about, I think, 8 or 9 students which claimed to be running for the program in the international pathway. Out of eight, they, because the program is so difficult, about five of them dropped out by the time we actually had the course entrance examinations, because mechanical engineering is not everybody's cup of tea, apparently. So, and because the course itself is so demanding, out of 3 students that was selected for the aviation program, one dropped out midway. Currently we are only two international aviation students and about 20 other Lithuanian or national students who are in the faculty. And these students include ATCs, avionics engineers, aerospace engineers. We have helicopter pilots as well. So, I mean, it's whatever you can imagine within the aviation spectrum, we have all of them here.
That's amazing, to be honest. You have a good exposure around you itself, to get involved inside the aviation. But I'm now considering how you have gotten into the program. Program structure itself is such a demanding program in the first place. How does the program come in terms of the cost associated with it? Can you please share about it? Did you get any scholarships as such for the aspiring students who want to get inside the program, who wanted to know how the whole course structure and the cost associated with them is?
Yeah, so I mean, when I talk about the cost structure, I don't know the current cost structure, to be honest, because they keep changing every year depending upon the considerations they have for the international students, etc., etc. When I'm paying about overall for the whole program, 5 years worth, about 70 to 75,000 euros for the whole 5 year program, and I think that's quite a good deal as per me, because you see prestigious and you see other universities and other colleges giving the same program, but it's extremely expensive. This is the kind of cost structure which is associated. Coming to the scholarships, unfortunately, during my time, scholarships for international students in this particular faculty and field was not available. We do get something called as the monthly scholarship. That is, if you have certain amount of grades and you get one of the highest grades across all faculties, you get certain amount of scholarship on a monthly basis for one semester. But then it's again very challenging and it's very competitive, because you have to be best in the whole student community across the university faculty. So, like, I'm expecting one very soon. I'm expecting one scholarship very soon. But other than that, if you talk about the tuition fee and some reductions in that, or maybe a helping hand within accommodation or something like that, it doesn't happen.
I see. In my opinion, 70,000 is actually a very good deal in terms of you're getting your master's degree as well and you're getting your pilot training together. When you compare to the other schools who provide integrated programs which cost you above and beyond 100,000 euros itself, it's a win win, I'm pretty sure. Now, to sum up the whole topic of Vilnius Tech, I have one last question considering how difficult the employability of students is depending upon the language in the European sector itself. Did you face anything as such? Do you have anyone who has faced anything as such?
Well, the employability, when I talk about European aviation and specifically the country which I am in right now, it is very difficult. Anybody who thinks that, will come here, we can maybe do some piloting course and we have like other options and we can get a job here. It's not that easy, specifically in the aviation field. Becoming getting a job as a pilot here itself is difficult, because of the reason is that you have to be a citizen here, or either you have to have permanent residency for them to even consider you for the position. That's one of the requirements that nobody knows and nobody caters for. The other thing is, even if you want to go into the technical side, and even if you want to, let's join any part of the aviation industry, you have to have a lot of qualifications for them to even consider you, because they always give preference to the nationals over internationals. That's a very relevant and a very, very God honest truth. So that's one of the reasons that I would say that the employability is entirely dependent upon the candidate. It is, if you just graduate with a pilot's license, or maybe just a master's degree or both, and you think, okay, people are going to be running after you for jobs and employability, it doesn't happen that way.
Param, now you have a very good involvement inside the startup community, and you have founded UAB Param as well. Can you please shed a little bit light about what is it based upon and how you getting involved in all of the startup communities?
Yeah, actually, I never thought I would go into the startup business and the entrepreneurship field, or anything remotely related to that, because I was a core aviation professional, not going out of my spectrum, want to specialize and just be the most qualified in aviation, and not divert from my path is what I would call it. But COVID-19 has taught me a lot of things, and it forces one to think about the viability and the versatility of how a professional should be. So during COVID-19, I knew a couple of businesses, medium and small size businesses, who were facing a lot of difficulty. So, or I would say the time after the second wave or the third wave, which was the most affected here. So it was not really good to see that they did not have the proper tools to market them, and get their customer base, and even survive the pandemic. And before the pandemic, they were doing quite well, which was bit astonishing that they couldn't survive it. So that is how I thought. That is how UAB Param LT came into the picture, where we wanted to help small and medium businesses get a larger customer base, make them global, help them with marketing as a listing aggregator. So we were quite a complex listing and service aggregator, where we wanted to take maybe different genres of small and medium businesses, pubs, restaurants, bars, haircutting salons, recreational activity providers, even for that, individuals who were giving some services, such as plumbers and gardeners and whatnot. So we had made a platform for them to onboard them and advertise for them and get them connected with their potential customer base, which was not limiting them to a certain geographical area, but was globalizing them, helping them with expansion through us, and at a very, very affordable rate. That was the major part, because the cash crunch and the liquidity, and the market value after COVID was really low. So that was a major challenge. We are still working on it, and we are still trying to get as many people as we can on board. And we do have some potential partners who are interested in our ideas and are very, very motivated to come on board with us through this journey. That is about my particular startup, which is UAB Param LT. And the product that we were going to give and we are going to launch is something called Uni Minion, because we are a university-based startup. We incubated in the university, and basically we are minions. We help you with everything. So that's how we came up with the idea and with the startup. Coming to startup community and my association with startups, I would say before I went into the startup venture and in the entrepreneurship field, I made it a point to learn about it first, to do my research properly, to get into the community, learn from people, and not repeat the same mistakes that they did. So I joined a lot of global startup communities around me. I learned a lot of things. I formally also did some courses. I pursued some education within the entrepreneurship field. And after getting that education, contributing in community building, I'm also a gold ambassador for one of the startup accelerators, which is based in Germany and works globally. Because of all these associations, I think that is what also further motivated me to get into the startup business. And yeah, so I mean, that is how it started. It just happened. I observed a lot of things that were going around me. I wanted to improve the situation, and it just happened.
Honestly, that's a very good initiative what you have done till now, and you've gotten involved in aviation so much that I don't think so there's any way any other field that might be looking very compromising for you other than aviation right now. To the other aspirants, student entrepreneurs out there who want to have a startup like yours or get involved inside the startup community in the first place, what are the tips and tricks would you give them to the viewers out there?
The first and foremost thing is determination and discipline. I think that's one of the first tips I would give. The startup community and the startup process is very challenging. It's very gruesome. A lot of people give in and give up during the middle of the process. I've seen a lot of people who just go on with the idea thinking that it's $1 million idea, go work on their startup, launch it in a very short period of time, get bankrupt, and are square one back again. And I think one has to be very determined to continue with the process, face the challenges, be disciplined enough to learn about the mistakes, be very observant about it. So I think that's one of the first things I would say, is that if you have made up a mind to enter the startup and the entrepreneurship field, be very careful about it. Give due consideration, do your research, just do not enter it blindly. Make sure that you have the right amount of resources, the right kind of idea, validate it, is what I would say to the upcoming entrepreneurs, specifically aviation entrepreneurs, because analytical thinking is something that's uplifted in our community and in our industry. I believe it's not only in our industry, but its applications can be done across plethora of sectors and different industries.
I see. So before you had gotten involved inside the startup community, correct me if I'm wrong, you were a drone pilot as well. So what influenced you into becoming a drone pilot and getting involved into the UAV community as well? Can you please shed a little bit of light on it?
Yes, so as an individual, I do not like to set a certain bar to my capabilities and horizontals as well as verticals, right? I was pursuing something technical, which is engineering, specifically aerospace engineering. I was in operations, which is piloting. I was in the quality management as well, being an aviation auditor, and one of the youngest aviation auditors in the industry right now. I wanted to pursue something in the UAV industry as well. Wanted to educate myself because it was a very lucrative industry, and during that time, and well, even right now for that matter. And we were taught something. All of this curiosity started at university when we were taught something about UAVs, how to make them, and something related to that particular industry. So I thought, it's something interesting I should pursue. So I went on to join a certain place where I could get my license as a drone pilot. So I got certified in multi-rotor drone piloting, and well, general drone piloting as well, along with certificate and diploma in drone mechanics and drone engineering, which I further wanted to pursue which I wanted to pursue further. So I went to Cranfield as well. I was invited for a short course there in autonomous UAV systems. I attended that in 2019. And after that, I realized, okay, now I'm into drone operations. I'm into drone technical. What's left? So I said, oh, drone law. So okay, let's go for drone law now. So I did a certification in drone law and commercial drone business law, which was one of the, I mean, it was one of the most interesting courses that I'd seen, because it's not very developed as yet. Along with that, I thought, okay, now I am done with the drone industry, because I mean, I have got a lot of qualifications. I wrote bit of some research papers as well for scientific journals to put in. So I thought, okay, I've got a good hang of it. Let's not limit myself there. Let's expand myself into the law, aviation law, sector. So I pursued air law, aviation law, space law, along with specialization in drone law as well. So I educated myself and got certifications and diplomas in all these fields. And finally, very recently, I thought, okay, operations and the technical laws are done. Let's go for something in aviation business. So I pursued, a diploma course from the prestigious Irish Law Society, which is the mecca for aviation leasing and finance. And it's one of the most prestigious courses that they have, and one of the most prestigious leasing courses in the world, actually, where we were taught by the industry leaders, the absolute front runners of the industry. So I managed to do a 6-month diploma there. in Dublin. It's been an amazing experience. Like, as you understand, I've never limited myself or my capabilities or my education in any form.
You have grown in such a personality that I don't think so there's anyone to compete with, and you have almost touched every aspect of aviation up till now.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally believe I have a lot to learn. I still want to keep learning. I don't want to limit myself in any way. I'm still, looking forward to a lot of conferences to attend, a lot of training programs I can attend. Uh, I also, like I said, I did not limit myself further. So I recently also, I'm a lead auditor, one of the youngest lead auditors in the industry right now, which is quite in demand, looking at how many airlines and startups are coming up. So, they need a lot of auditors for those kind of purposes. And yes, I'm looking forward to expanding my knowledge and not limiting it, something which is very important in the modern aviation industry.
Now, along with all of this, you are a journalist as well, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You are working for Aerotime Hub. It's one of the largest aerospace related content that they give out. So, how are you managing all of this, and how did you get involved in
Yeah,
this?
so Aerotime Hub is one of the global leaders for not only aviation related media, but also recruitment and various other fields, right? So it's like it's a global platform which has got high credibility and is one of the best in the market right now in the aviation industry right now. You know, one of the important things along with keeping yourself up to date and learning about different phases is also to have a good power of expression and the communication ability as an aviation professional. Since I wanted to improve it, and I thought since because I have a good power of expression, I thought I should be contributing to the media side and the communication side of aviation as well, which I think today the particular field is was undiscovered by me. Yes, so I am currently an aviation journalist in Aerotime Hub.
Coming back to the Vilnius Tech program, the prospective students, before they start applying to the program, so what is one tip for them to get ready, get their medicals done, or are there specified requirements that are needed? So what is one tip would you give them?
Well, you can't prepare for the worst thing about the entrance exams and the kind of the requirements that they list. You cannot prepare for them in advance other than the physical fitness test. I don't think you can prepare your pilot aptitude and battery test at home. You cannot prepare to have better marks in mechanical engineering in the first year. That's something that you have to learn while you go along with the program. So I think one of the tips that I would give is be mentally and physically prepared for the program that you're going to apply for, and please do all the research. Please do the associated research. Be mentally and physically ready for the program because it's going to take a lot of time. Today, after whenever I'm working and studying at the same time, I have almost, and I will not exaggerate this enough, I have 19-hour work days. I start all the way from in the morning at 4. I uh, I have to go for early morning flights, sometimes scheduled at 7 o'clock, and our aerodrome is like really far. So you go in the morning leave in the morning at 5:30, go for flying, come back, attend office in between as well. Certain for a certain period of time, you attend office. Then you go to the university, you attend classes because by the way, our attendance is compulsory
Okay.
in the aviation program. So
Okay.
you attend classes. After attending classes, you also have a startup and you're within the startup community. So you have to contribute there as well, which is extremely important. It helps you stay relevant and helps you keep up to date with your startup plans and your ambitions. And then again, the whole process comes back to its starting point the next day. So it's not a process that everybody can endure. And I've personally seen it, I've witnessed it. People who cannot endure it have a extremely bad time, and that bad time and that bad experience affects them professionally, educational wise. It affects them as a person, and also drastically affects their social life. Unless or until you're really ready to sacrifice a lot of things, specifically your time and your social efforts and everything, do not consider aviation field, and specifically this particular program. altogether.
All right. So, what was your first flying experience you had at Vilnius Tech once you have got inducted into the program? What was the first experience you had when you took off along with your
Well,
instructor?
you'd asked me about how did I get into aviation, and how was I versed with this particular field. Well, I would say that my father is a retired wing commander from the Indian Air Force. He was a pilot in the Indian Air Force, flying the Antonov 32, which is one of the best used transport aircrafts, highest frequency wise used transport aircraft within the Indian Air Force. So I have lived among the community of aviation professionals, and specifically the defense aviation industry professionals, all my life. It influences you as a person. It is very apparent that you are drawn towards that field because you see people working in it day in day out, specifically when you're so fascinated. And I think I would definitely thank my parents and give regard to my father for motivating me in this particular field, because I had a very good background in aviation with my father, and I got a lot of motivation looking at that aviation life that a professional endures over his career. So that is how I got into aviation. Now, when it comes to my experience, when I used to be in the university, when I was maybe 19 or 20, today currently I'm 21 years old. But when I was maybe 19, and when I was a part of the aviation program, sitting in the class, studying the subjects and engineering, the first thought that I would have in my mind every day in the morning is, when are we going to fly? When am I going to get the taste of flying? When is it? And finally, one day when I was in the cockpit and I saw the procedures, I did a lot of things. I observed a lot of things, and when we first took off and the wheels were up, and I think that was the best feeling anyone could have, anybody, because you're part of these fascinating and amazing machines, how they're able to fly. God did not intend humans to fly. We don't have any wings, we don't have any natural means to fly. But when the human kind was innovative enough to make aircrafts, and when you're able to use that particular invention to your advantage, and get the taste of flying, and get to experience such a thrilling uh, moment, I think it's the best thing anybody can get through and experience.
Very true. Very well said, honestly. Very similar to the podcast I did before as well with a flight instructor who also said the same thing. It is a feeling you can never compare with. You will not be able to get that feeling anywhere else.
The best thing about this feeling is, not everybody has the chance to experience it. There are only limited amount of pilots in this world, limited amount of upcoming or the prospective aviation enthusiasts who are actually pursuing this field. And not everybody is made and is molded to become a pilot. It's something that only few individuals in this world can experience. And with the lack of pilots in the industry and everything that the aviation industry is facing right now and witnessing, I think it's apparent that it's a very specialized field, and which is not everybody's cup of tea.
Exactly, very well said. Not everyone is privileged to actually get into the pilot training right now because it requires a lot of funding to be there in the first place, a lot of risk to be taken in order for you to get involved inside the whole industry. Now, coming to the end of this podcast, we have a few rapid fire questions for you, Param, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Please fire away.
The first question I would like to ask you is, what do you think happened the crash of MH370?
I'm not very well versed. You see, as an aviation journalist, I would say I see so many incidents and I see so many things every day on a daily basis. I have to write about them on a daily basis, report them. Is that a particular incident is oblivious to me? Although it might have been a very, very significant incident, but I do not recollect it at this particular moment, is what I would say.
Okay. How has COVID-19 impacted you in the past few years?
I think the lack of social interaction is one of the things that has impacted, me as an individual as well, because I'm a very extroverted student and a very extroverted person who doesn't like to stay at home, who doesn't like confined spaces. I'm more of a guy who goes outdoors, who likes to attend classes on site, who likes to basically learn about things, going to a particular place, meeting people. Well, that's how it affected me personally. when it comes to my training, I think because of the COVID restrictions and the limitations was one of the major factors that affected our flying training last year, where we were not able to achieve the amount of target hours that we were aiming to achieve, which was one of the, which is one of the operational issues that is still continuing with the uprising and the spike in the COVID cases that we are witnessing. I think those are the major factors that I would point out.
All right. So one last question: which is the ugliest plane you have ever seen in your life?
Being an enthusiast, I've never seen any ugly plane. I do not consider any plane or any aircraft to be ugly. As long as it flies, it's beautiful to me. I make aircrafts as an aerospace engineer. I can say that I'm into designing. I fly aircrafts. I lease them. I do so many things about with aircrafts. If I consider them or I critique them to be ugly, I do not think I'm giving enough justice to the machine is giving me so much opportunity.
All right, Param, thank you so much for coming to the podcast and sharing the whole journey of your achievements and the way you got involved inside the aviation community and your program at Vilnius Tech as well. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Junaid. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing more podcasts and more interviews from your end. I think not a lot of people are into this particular aviation podcasting genre. And if you're pursuing it, I think it's very brave and courageous of you. At the same time, very, very innovative of you. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think I'm not, I'm looking forward to, getting better within the industry and helping the industry grow as well in the future. So thank you for all your kind words and thank you very much.